All righty, I'm Charlie Zelli. I am chair of Met Council, and I'm also honored to chair this Corridor Management Committee. Welcome. This is the Metro Blue Line. In case you think you're on the wrong train, somebody said it's a sunny day in Minneapolis, and it certainly is, especially for all these exciting options that are before us, and something we've been working on for a while. So I'll just cut to a few quick housekeeping items. You all know how to mute yourself if you're not speaking. We are recording this meeting, and it'll be available for viewing shortly. Given the governor's order, this is a virtual meeting, we all know. But if it is certainly open to the public. If there's any member of the public listening that would like to comment or has a question, please share your thoughts with Sophia Guinness at her email address, which is sophia.ginis@metrotransit.org. And you have any time through Friday the 19th, and we're going to post that, all those comments or questions on the project website, which is bluelineext.org. So just one word, bluelineext. There's two E's next to each other, .org. And so now maybe as we get started, I'm going to ask members and maybe those that are alternates, just feel free to introduce yourself when I call on the organization or entity, and maybe we should start with Met Council members. I know there's a few.
Reva Chambliss, District 2, representing Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, Champlain, Osseo, Spring Lake Park, Fridley, Columbia Heights, and Hilltop.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Robert Lilligren, District 7. That's South Central, Minneapolis, downtown to the river, North Loop, all of North Minneapolis, and Robbinsdale. It's good to be with you today.
Anyone else from Met Council? No? All right. How about Hennepin County?
Irene Fernando, Hennepin County Commissioner, District 2, and also our Regional Rail Authority Chair.
Jeff Lundy, County Commissioner for District 1.
Right. Farhad on behalf of Chair Green.
Welcome. All right, Brooklyn Park.
Tanya West Hafner, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, Crystal.
Mayor Jim Adams.
Mayor. Robbinsdale.
Bill Blonigan, Robbinsdale Mayor.
Golden Valley.
Good afternoon, Shep Harris.
City.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Shep. Jillian Rosenquist, Golden Valley City Council, and alternate for our Mayor Shep Harris, who will now go.
That's all right. Shep Harris, Golden Valley Mayor.
Shep, Jillian, good to see you both.
For Robbinsdale, there's an alternate that didn't get to introduce himself too.
Go ahead.
He's saying he's muted apparently, but it's George Selman, council member alternate for Robbinsdale.
All right. Hello, George. All right. Let's go to Minneapolis.
Well, hello, Philippe Cunningham, Minneapolis City Council member. I represent the 4th Ward, which is the Upper North Side, and I am not officially a member, but this does impact my ward, so you all have been generous enough to let me be a part of this, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Jeremiah Ellison here, representing Ward 5 in Minneapolis.
Council member. Anyone else from Minneapolis? Brooklyn Center.
You know what? I joined about 2 minutes in because WebEx needed to load, but I'm Felicia with West Broadway Business and Area Coalition. So I don't know if this is where I should be saying that or not. But we are in Minneapolis.
There's never a bad time, Alicia. Thank you. Let's see. I said Brooklyn Center.
Chair. Yes, this is Mayor Mike Elliott, Brooklyn Center.
Now, New Hope.
Kathy Hampton, the mayor.
Kathy. Maple Grove.
Mike Opatz, staff from the city of Maple Grove. I am the alternate for Mayor Mark Steffensen, who sends his regrets. He's in court today. Good to be here. Thank you.
Good to see you, Mike. Osseo. All right, the Minneapolis Park Board.
Chris Meyer, Commissioner for District 1.
Chris. The Blue Line Coalition.
Hi, Kanani Omar with Blue Line Coalition. I'm an alternate today.
All right.
Denise Butler with Acer and the Blue Line Coalition.
Ricardo Perez, alternate Blue Line Coalition.
Now the Community Advisory Committee.
Hi, this is Jason Greenberg. I'm a co-chair of the Community Advisory Committee.
Right. And now I know Felicia, we're going to call on the Business Advisory Committee. Maybe some other co-chairs here too.
Hi, I'm Tim Baylor, and I'm representing the Robbinsdale Chamber of Commerce, and I am one of the tri-chairs of the Business Advisory Committee.
My name is Mike Steinhauser, and I am the third chair of the Business Advisory Committee for the Robbinsdale area.
Great. And now the Airports Commission, the MAC. Anybody from the Airports Commission?
Yes.
There you are.
Hello, everyone. Bridget Rafe, Vice President for Planning and Development with the Airports Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. MnDOT.
I'm Mike Barnes, MnDOT's Metro District Engineer.
And Berg, I'm the alternate for Mike.
Great. And now Metro Transit. Well, Wes Koistra may join us later. Did I miss anybody that would like to introduce themselves?
This is George Selman checking his microphone now.
It's loud and clear, George.
Thank you for the intro, Bill. I messed with the settings to get rid of background noise, and I did a really good job.
Well, don't do what I did. I tried to close the chat function, and I logged myself out of a meeting. So, we're still learning after a year. Okay, so let's get into. We have a lot to cover. Let's just start by approval of the minutes from February 11th. Those should have been sent out, or I think they were sent out on Friday, March 5th for review. So is there any corrections or edits?
Hearing none, Mr. Chair, this is Bill Blonigan moving approval of the minutes.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
This is Mike Elliott. I'll second.
Thank you. All right, Dawn, if you wouldn't mind calling the roll, this is the one thing we need to vote on.
Okay. Councilmember Lilligren.
Aye.
Councilmember Chambliss.
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Commissioner Fernando.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Blonigan.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem West Hafner,
Aye.
Mayor Elliott,
Aye.
Commissioner Chris Meyer,
Aye.
Denise Butler,
Aye.
Ricardo Perez,
Aye.
Bridget Reef,
Aye.
Mike Barnes,
Aye.
Jason Greenberg,
Aye.
Felicia Perry,
Aye.
and Chair Zelli.
Aye. The minutes are adopted. So the next on the agenda is just to hear some committee reports, but it's my really great honor to welcome, which we did briefly during the introductions, but now more formally. We have the co-chairs of both the Community Advisory Committee and the Business Advisory Committee, and so you are now officially part of this committee, and we have for the Community Advisory Committee co-chairs Jason Greenberg and Felipe Souza, and from the Business Advisory Committee we have co-chairs Felicia Perry and Mike Steinhauser and Tim Baylor, and maybe we could just, I know you've introduced yourself, just your names, but maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourselves so we get to know you. And if you just take a few minutes, why don't we start with the Community Advisory Committee and then hear from just a chance for introductions.
Hi, everyone. This is Jason Greenberg. Philippe can't make it today, so I'm going to represent the both co-chairs of the Community Advisory Committee. And for me, I'm a Robbinsdale resident. Lived here since 2007. I've been very interested in helping our community and being involved. Was on the Planning Commission in Robbinsdale for 8 years. I was on the Community Advisory Committee previously, old alignment. So excited to take on a larger role here. And in my personal life, I'm married. I have two daughters. I'm an account executive for a technology company here in the Twin Cities.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Well, let's jump to Felicia.
Hello, my name is Felicia Perry. I'm the Executive Director of the West Broadway Business and Area Coalition. For those unfamiliar, we're a business association located in North Minneapolis. We serve North Minneapolis businesses with a concentration on the West Broadway business district. Myself, personally, I'm a longtime Northside resident, entrepreneur, and more. I've worked at WBC for a few years now, and just did work across the state really I did quite a bit of work with economic development, specifically in the creative entrepreneurship space, as well as a background in banking, finance, accounting, and marketing. So I don't know what else you all want to know. I have a bio.
No, that's great. Mike?
Mike Steinhauser, born, bred, brought up Robbinsdale, New Hope, Crystal, Robbinsdale area. Merwin Drug, Merwin Long-Term Care Pharmacy. I manage Robert Shopping Center. I have multiple businesses and real estates in that area, live in the area, and I'm also current chairman of the board of North Memorial Healthcare Center.
Great. Thanks. Welcome, Mike. And Tim?
Good afternoon, everyone. I came to town years ago with the Minnesota Vikings and fell in love with the place, so we're still here. Currently live in Minneapolis, business owner in Minneapolis and throughout the Twin Cities with McDonald's restaurants. We have restaurants in Minneapolis and also in Robbinsdale. I was asked to represent the Robbinsdale Chamber of Commerce for this task. I'm also a real estate developer and have developed projects throughout the metropolitan area. Currently working on a village in Minneapolis on Broadway Avenue. Former Planning Commission member at the City of Minneapolis. Former Lieutenant Governor candidate for the state of Minnesota. Over the years, have worked on just about every civic and philanthropic board and activity in town. Currently a member of the Minneapolis Foundation Board of Trustees, the North Memorial Hospital Systems Board of Trustees, Meet Minneapolis Board of Directors, and I was recently appointed by Governor Walz to the Metropolitan Airports Commission. Thank you.
Sam, you're a busy guy, as all of you are. Well, thank each of you for spending the time with us and really starting on this journey, because your input, your committee's inputs, are really going to be critical for a successful project. So let's hear a report. I understand the CAC. Jason, you're going to give us a report, and then followed by our BAC, Felicia, you're going to give us a report. So go ahead, Jason.
Yep. So we had our first meeting, nominated co-chairs, of which I'm one, so that's exciting. And really, I mean, used it as an opportunity to do introductions and for the CAC members to meet project staff, kind of discuss some of the new goals for the year and the new alignment and kind of where we're headed. But not a lot of deep discussion. A few questions around making sure people asking questions around confidence and making sure that this is going to get complete because it's been drawn out for so long. But I think overall, a lot of attendees, which was great. So a lot of interaction and a chance for everyone to get to know one another.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alicia?
Yes, so the Business Advisory Committee, very similarly, we did our introductions and a bit of an overview. We also, during our meeting, appointed 3 co-chairs or tri-chairs. I think we're still trying to decide on what we're calling us, but it's 3 of us, myself, Mr. Baylor, and and Mike, that are the co-chairing this particular committee. We also discussed kind of like a project overview. Some of us have a bit more background and insight on the project, so it was good to have that discussion with folks. We also talked a bit about the different components that were part of this: the design, the community work, environmental review. And I think we have our next meeting set for coming up on the 22nd. I can't see head nods right now, but we did discuss our upcoming meeting and also thinking about furthering our public engagement in a community-centric approach. So we had a bit of discussion, higher level stuff, not as deep either. So yeah, I don't know did I miss anything, co-chairs?
Nope, that sounded just right. Okay, thanks, Felicia.
Thank you, Jason and Felicia. Does anybody in the committee, any other committee members, have any questions from those committees? Well, thanks. I know this is kind of the beginning or a new start, not a beginning, to this process of route identification and engagement along the way. And so we really do take seriously your committee perspective. And I think as we start meeting more as we go on, your point of view will be really, really helpful. So let's move on to the initial route identification. I underline the word initial. These are options. It's pretty exciting that we're at this point. I have to say, we put a big, stake in this calendar of March 11th. And when you think about how we've come from August, leaving the old alignment and really pushing forward, we've done a lot. And I really appreciate the work of staff and then everybody in this room to kind of embrace this new chapter. I mean, this represents a big change, and the thoughtfulness and the process itself is so critical. And we talked a lot about not what we end up doing, but how we go about this this tireless work will be really an indicator of our ultimate success. So knowing that this is just the beginning of the conversation, we want to ensure that we get all as much open as possible about both the opportunities, the fears, and the expectations going forward. So we're lucky we have Dan Solar, Nick Landwehr, and Sophia Guinness to take us through where we are and what it looks like. So who's starting that? Dan?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair and members. And before I start, I just want to say that after the first CAC meeting and the first BAC meeting, when we as staff got a chance to meet the members and meet the leadership and see the new chairs, co-chairs, and chairs of the group, I can simply say as a staff, we just went, wow, these are great groups. We've got a lot of really good people and a lot of real big energy on them. So we are excited about that as one of the steps as we move forward to continue on this very important Blue Line project. So I'm just going to simply start with just a couple of points. For those of you, I should introduce myself for anybody that doesn't know. I'm Dan Solar, and I am the kind of the transit liaison person and transit lead at Hennepin County, and one of the project leads for the Blue Line Extension project. As many of you know, I've spent the last 6+ years working on the Blue Line Extension, either for Met Council or Hennepin County. So I have been through all of the ups, downs, good and bad. We moved and worked very diligently to move this project forward on an alignment that was chosen by our communities back in the 2014 timeframe, and we have been unable to make that happen. So in last summer timeframe, we brought the project management team and staff back together to talk about a new way to move this forward. And the CMC and the project partners made a very difficult decision, and that was the decision to find and commit to a way to find an LRT route that serves these communities, that essentially serves the Bottineau corridor, if you will, from Target Field Station to Northern Brooklyn Park, that does not use Burlington Northern Railroad. Talked often, and I've visited with many people about the inability to move forward with BN. While we tried and worked on many strategies and different opportunities and methodologies to make that happen, we have been unable, and BNSF is simply unwilling to work on cooperative agreement to allow co-location in that corridor. So while that is true, the need to build a project, the need to serve the communities in this section of Hennepin County, the need to provide a transit solution that works for this area still lives. And so we brought the CMC back together about discussing to move this project forward without using freight rail. And how will we go about identifying a community-supported alignment that would make that happen? So we started with the development of what we called project alignment and project engagement principles. And so we worked on that through the October, November, and December timeframe, with the ability to, at the December CMC, and that was kind of the final meeting of the previous CMC, then with January, February timeframe being the first meeting of this CMC as we know it, to adopt those project principles. And many of you are familiar with those. We've done those and reviewed those often at this committee. Jason, you can go to the next slide. We talk about some of those key steps, which was meeting New Start's criteria as a federal transit administration project in the Twin Cities, maintaining the existing alignment as much as possible, mitigating negative impacts, complementing existing transit ways, finding a way that we could be as close to the previous goals and objectives of what this project intended to do, which is to basically build a transportation project connecting the northwest suburbs of Hennepin County. So we got back into the swing while we had this kind of dead period for a while as we were getting through the BNSF negotiations. We now have in place this CMC that we're meeting with today. We have in place a new business advisory and community advisory committee. We've got our project management team up and running, led by Sam O'Connell from Met Council and myself with our staff teams. We've got all of those pieces put together, ready to tackle this issue for this year. We also know and believe and are fully committed to what we consider to be a robust, fully engaged community engagement process on this. So we did some initial community engagement with some assistance from the Blue Line Coalition and juxtaposition and the Harrison neighborhood to focus on where do we want to connect, what are concerns. We did some town halls, we did some listening sessions, we did some one-on-one interviews. Our consultants and ourselves did to kind of make sure that we were heading down the right direction to put us where we are today. And so you can go to the next slide, Jason. This is a slide many of you have seen. We are now ready today to bring
does this sound
this
familiar to you?
quarter.
Hold on.
Did I miss something? Sorry. To present to this quarter management committee, the project management team's recommended route options for consideration in the entire alignment. And so you'll see, similar to what we presented before, that there's a difference between what we're presenting in Area 1 up on the north, what we've identified in Area 2 here in the middle, and routes that we've identified down in Area 3. So Nick's going to take those forward. He's going to present our recommended routes for consideration, and then also talk about next steps, how we engage on this, how we do some evaluation and move this process forward. So thanks, everybody. This has been, as I agree, Chair, this has been a big effort in the making, both by staff and many of you who we've worked with. So we're really excited to move to this next.
Okay. Hello, my name is Nick Landwehr. I guess that's my lead in. So my name is Nick Landwehr. I'm the Metro Transit engineering and design lead for the project. I've been with the project for the last 6 years. And I'm honored here to be able to actually do the map rollout. So these are going to be the project team recommended routes that are based on our project principles, our coordination with the project partners, and the input that we've received so far. And with this, we're looking for a robust discussion here in the coming months with the community and with our project partners to discuss and get comments and have questions and get suggestions back on these. So this is really a time for communication and an open conversation. So I'm going to walk through these based on the 3 areas from the slide that we just saw and have the discussion that way. So in area number 1, this is up in Brooklyn Park and really not affected by the freight rail corridor. So the belief from the project team and input from our partners is that these routes do not need to be modified at the time. We have 90% design. We've done a lot of hard work. We think we're in a really good place with these and want to move forward. And we believe that these are consistent with the project principles, and they retain the previous alignment in this location, and it continues the existing project and project definition being a light rail from Target Field Station in Minneapolis to the Oak Grove Park Station, or Oak Grove Station up in Brooklyn Park. And another key thing is, as we had formed this alignment and done the work in the past, this alignment, or this section of the and route, serves major destinations in Brooklyn Park. For example, North Hennepin Community College and multiple commercial areas and the Target campus on the north end. Jason, next slide, please. So this is the beginning of the route rollout, the route maps. This is Area 1, and on the map in the blue is the alignment that we're pursuing. This is the 2013 locally preferred, or LPA, alignment, and the blue dots with the little gold dots in the middle are the station locations that we're proposing to continue forward with. What's not shown on this map at the very north end or top end of this map is also an operations and maintenance facility building that is designed in this plan and a key function for this route. So the 4 stations that we are showing on the plan are Oak Grove Parkway Station. We've done a lot of work to make sure that fits within future development visions for the city and works with how the infrastructure and roadways would go in that area, in that north of 610 area. 93rd Avenue Station is the next station down. That's more of an industrial manufacturing area, but this area is really growing and developing with the city and their plans. The 85th Avenue Station is a station that is directly connected, or directly next door to the North Hennepin Community College campus, and they've been a good partner with us to this date. We've worked with them on how their campus is going to flow and function through the campus, and we're also a kitty corner, or diagonally across the street from the Hennepin County Library that was just built within the last few years. Brooklyn Boulevard Station's the next one. This is a very heavy commercial shopping area, and it connects to the Starlight Transit Center for Metro Transit, so another key connection in this area. So again, maintaining the existing plans in this area and moving forward with that. And this is now the transition to area number 2. So Jason, next slide, please. Thank you. So area 2, the considerations we have in area number 2, we wanted to make sure that we're consistent, again, with our project principles, that we're trying to maintain or honor that existing alignment as much as possible. So as we're going through that, we want to stay as close to we were, still serve the cities of Crystal and Robbinsdale in this area. And we feel that there's multiple stations and elements that can be preserved with a route adjustment in this area. One of the things as we're looking at a potential route or routes through this area there's a lot of geographical features that we had to work around to get a continuous route through there. So Crystal Lake, for example, Twin Lakes, the Crystal Airport are all geographical barriers that we had to consider as we're going through here. Again, we want to make sure we're still serving those major destinations in this area, including the Crystal Business District, downtown Robbinsdale, but then it's also brought us the opportunity to serve North Memorial Campus. In the last 6 years, I've been at so many public meetings where people have said, can't you get this alignment to go to North Memorial? How can you get to North Memorial? Can you get a bridge to North Memorial? Can you get a tunnel to North Memorial? And with the old alignment, it really wasn't feasible. But this is a good opportunity that this can become a destination along our routes. So Jason, next slide, please. So this is area 2, route 2, and from this route, in the gold hatched area was the previous alignment in the BNSF right away, and shadowed in there are 3 kind of bullseyes in the area, which indicate the former station locations. And what's prominent here is the black route or corridor. And as we've talked with the project partners and had discussions, we asked, are there other potential routes that we should be pursuing? But really, the Bottineau Boulevard, County Road 81 in this location is the route that makes sense, that's continuous, that will fit in a light rail and meet our project principles. So as we start at the north end, we meet up with the Brooklyn Boulevard station or Brooklyn Boulevard section, area 1. And we had a structure that used to come over to the freight rail corridor. We imagine there's still going to be a structure that brings us up and meets us with Bottineau Boulevard. Our routes and alignments, we're trying to do a center running at grade light rail wherever possible. That's the most efficient and we feel best serves the public. But that's what we're looking at. So in County Road 81, Bottineau Boulevard, we're looking at center running at grade alignment through here. So as we go from the north down, you see the black lines and the old or previous alignment are right next to each other. The road right away abuts the railroad right away in this location. So this gives us an opportunity to maintain the service through the area and keep those commitments in this area. And it gives us also the opportunity to maintain that a station, to keep pursuing that station at 63rd Avenue, because there is an existing park and ride in this area, and we've done a lot of work to work on this as a destination and a station to come to. As we travel a little bit farther south, the next circle in Crystal area is at Bass Lake Road, and this is in the middle of the map. We're still very close to the old alignment, and we feel that Bass Lake Road is really another key station that an area that we want to focus on, because this does give us the access to Crystal Business District and Grazer Park that the city has just put a major investment into. As we start going farther south here, you'll see the black alignment, the Bottineau alignment, the suggested route. Starts to diverge away from the freight rail corridor as we go south into the Robbinsdale area. And one of these questions is, as we go through Robbinsdale and along the whole alignment, is how are we going to make this fit? And we're going to have to work on where station placements will be. And as we get farther away from the station that we had located at 42nd and Hubbard in this location, we're going to have to look at how we replace that station and how we get elements that fit within Robbinsdale. So the alignments that we show are very rough planning level alignments. We have a lot of engineering work to do and work with our project partners to ensure that these alignments will work and they fit within the context of the communities that we're going through. So and the south end of this alignment, as we get down into the lower right-hand corner, it's not shown on the map, but that's where North Memorial is, where Lowry Avenue and West Broadway converge in this area. So Jason, next slide, please. So this brings us down into Area 3, and the considerations we have for Area 3. Again, we want to be consistent with our project principles. I mean, this is really, it was a lot of work up front in this project, but this is what's guiding us through to help us bring forward route options and listen and move forward with the project. So we want to make sure that as we get down to Area 3, this is down more in the Minneapolis area, and we want to make sure, as in all areas, that we're minimizing residential, commercial, and environmental impacts. We want to come in with as light of a footprint as we have. Make sure that we're working within the community and not just tearing it up. We want to make sure that we're complementing the existing and planned metro transit ways in this area. There's a lot of work that's happened and will be happening in this area. And when appropriate, we want to make sure that we're going to open to working with the community to pursue opportunities that serve even more people. We see this as maybe an opportunity with this, looking at new routes. That can we connect with more ridership? Can we get to more people that have challenges in mobility and are relying on transit? So this is a great opportunity. Next slide, please, Jason. So this area is a little bit more challenging because it is a larger area and there are more opportunities. So the next couple slides I'm going to show are a basis on, or part of the basis on how we came forward with recommended alignment options here. And this map is kind of a heat map that shows available right away in the area, the blue area of Area 3. And the first thing that we need to do is look for light rail. How do we get a connected through route through this area of blue that's wide enough, has a large enough right of way to accommodate light rail and still continue the existing functions it has. So we do know that about a minimum right of way to maintain traffic on a roadway and have a guideway in there and still have pedestrian ways, we need about 75 to 80 feet through there. So this is where this map comes in handy. The green really shows us. Green means go. Green means that we have plenty of right of way in this area to work with, to work with working existing traffic, existing modes of transportation like pedestrians and bikes, and get a guideway in there. As we start shifting through the spectrum and down the lighter green, even into the yellow, we can fit a light rail into this area. It's when we start getting orange and red is where the right of way becomes so narrow that the impacts from a light rail become pretty large. So this is really one of the areas that we started focus on. What's available right away? Next slide, please, Jason. Another consideration is, what is the zoning and density of commercial and business and residential in the area? The higher density in those aspects for light rails, the better, because that's where we're going to be serving our clients and riders and serving the community and businesses. So this is what we looked at as some of the best places to look at for LRT. So you can start seeing the density from this graphic. This is from Minneapolis zoning that shows density of more businesses and residential and proposed developments through there. So next slide, please, Jason. So this is a map of Area 3, and this map of Area 3 really brings us down to two routes that we're proposing. These are the apparent routes that have the right of way we need and it seems to meet the destinations that are out there and meet the ridership for the area. So the routes are the West Broadway route in green on the kind of diagonally slicing through the map, and then the Lowry route going along Lowry Avenue on the north end of the map. Bigger challenge, these will be challenging to move forward with and determine what is the most appropriate route, but this is why we want to go out to the community and get input and have that discussion. But once we even narrow down these routes, they still will be challenging to build like any light rail is. The light rail is a big impact, but it has a lot of rewards that come along with it. As you look in the rectangle in kind of the south, lower south section, lower right section of this map, you'll see what's links. And this is the challenge is how do we get to either of these two routes of West Broadway and or Lowry Avenue. And the routes are an example of a few that really stand out as you start looking at the maps of being appropriate routes that have the least amount of impacts, meet our project principles, and have the right of way available. I do have the next map, if we can go to the next slide, that maybe highlights how these links fit within the community and how it comes out of Minneapolis a little bit better. That this aerial shows a little bit more context of on the lower right hand side of the screen is where Target Field Station is, and we're coming out of there with the pink and blue links, and we have the assortment of colors that go up to either West Broadway or Lowry Avenue. So that the blue link that you see in this location would really capitalize on some of the existing work we've already done. It follows the previous alignment where we came off of Target Field Station and come down at grade through the intersection at 6th and 7th. And before, where we continued down Olson Memorial Highway, this link shows us turning up 7th Street and moving northwest. And it takes us up with all of these route options. The challenge is going to be to cross 94 on them. So we get across 94, and the blue route shows us continuing along the west side of the 94 route right away up to West Broadway in this case, or it could stop a little bit shorter, follow the green link that would go up Lindale Avenue to Broadway Avenue in this location. Another option is we go over to the pink route coming off of Target Field Station again. This is a little bit more outside the box, has a lot of challenges to it, but it would come off of Target Field Station on a structure, weave its way through the Metro Transit Haywood campus over kind of the bus driveway coming out of the garage, still in structure, over Fifth Avenue, over to the 3rd and 4th Street ramps. And there's some right of way along those ramps where we would continue through that right of way, again, going over I-94, and in this case, connecting to Lindale Avenue, or another option would be to come down to grade, connect to 10th Avenue at grade, and turn on 10th Avenue to Washington Avenue, and from Washington Avenue, go north to either West Broadway or up to Lowry Avenue. So these are just the beginning of options that are out there, or combinations of these could be an option of how we work through and make this connection. Again, this is where we're looking for input and for comments on this. Next slide, Jason. So some of the comments that we've had recently are, we're getting a lot of suggestions, and people are going to start wondering why we did not recommend certain options that may seem apparent at first blush, but just wanted to cover them real quick. But we still are open to these discussions. So some of the route options we are not recommending would be Penn, Emerson, and Fremont. We aren't recommending those because Penn Avenue has the existing C line that runs down that, and it's functioning very well, as Emerson and Fremont are ready to start construction very soon for the D line BRT. Another consideration where both of these roadways have very narrow right of way, and bringing light rail down them would have significant impacts to the residential flavor of these neighborhoods. Next slide, please. Another option that's brought up, and we haven't recommended as the project team, is Lindale Avenue from West Broadway north to Lowry Avenue. One of the biggest reason is they don't really meet our project principles because they have a very narrow right of way in this area. It's 66-foot right of way, so that a lot less than what we need to maintain the traffic and keep a guideway, LRT guideway through this area. But we also see with street-facing residents in this area that there would be significant impacts to the residents in here, and the flavor of that community. Next slide, please, Jason. Another option that's within the blue chart area was brought up, or has been brought up, was to continue down Olson Memorial Highway to Highway 100 and north, and then connect up north in Robbinsdale Crystal area. And one of the reasons that we're not recommending this, also, it really does not meet our project principles, because we feel that it starts skirting around from where the ridership is, and it's avoiding riders in many of the locations. It's a much longer route and it diverts from our previous alignment, where we're really trying to stay close and true to that previous alignment. And as we've discussed this with project partners, there really is little support for this corridor or opportunity. So with that, next slide, Jason. Chair, we're open to committee discussion and comments and questions.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Nick and Dan. That is a lot of material, and I know we're kind of absorbing it. But let's just take a pause and see if anybody has any comments, any thoughts, questions at this point.
Nick, this is Mike Steinhauser. Couple quick questions. You mentioned that you were looking at center running at grade in area number 2. And then question I have is, have you done traffic pattern, traffic counts, and any kind of environmental assessment yet in that area?
Mr. Steinhauser, we're still really early on that. We are starting to roll through what impact center running would have in this area, and we are open for other options as if center running does not work. You know, if we need to look at structure or move the alignment around, this is the point where we do that. But we're really early in that. We're just starting to pull in our traffic data and information to look at what those impacts are. We're starting to look at what impacts would be to the intersections along that whole corridor. And, you know, we're starting to run lines down the alignment to a typical section to see what would those impacts be and what do we need to address and where does it fit. So we're really early in the game. Not a lot of engineering has gone into these routes. These are really planning level routes, lines on a paper.
Thank you, Nick. I'll just hold my questions in until that comes out. Appreciate it.
Any other thoughts from anybody?
Hi, this is Ricardo with Blue Line Coalition. We prepared a small statement for the meeting, but I want to make sure that maybe the questions go first.
Sure,
Yes,
Ricardo.
thanks, Ricardo.
Denise.
This is Denise with Blue Line Coalition. First, want to say that we have not seen any of this, have not been discussed or shared with us, nor our communities, our community partners. So we got this information. We were introduced to these options 8:30 this morning by Sophia Guinness and team, and hopefully she took some notes to bring back the full scope of the pushback that we see with these options. As we talk about the principles, looking at Lowry, we realize that Lowry does not begin to meet the principles that we set forth here at the CMC table. So really questioning what is the hidden agenda by even it being an option here today in this meeting. And then also,
Denise, you were muted.
Denise, you might be on mute.
I don't know what happened. It just got really funky here. So, and then also wondering why, if we're just making the adjustments in area 2 of the line, why the original alignment is not being shown here today as a potential option at all, or even just to give some people who are new to the conversation a little bit more context of what was the discrepancies ahead that brought us to this moment right now. Because some of the things and the pushback that I'm hearing about the original alignment have nothing to do with what was shared with the community as far as BNSF was an issue. We want to get off their tracks. And if we found a solution to get off their tracks, why are we detouring so far away from the original alignment? Those are just some of the comments that I'm going to share today, but would ask that no kind of voting or definitive decisions be made as far as really pushing these options that have been shared with us today, but really ask that we go back to the community, be more transparent and communicate more clearly to the community, providing all the necessary context and background, and really getting the community's input on what are some real options that we set.
I think I can start with that, and Dan or Chair, please, Sam, jump in as necessary. But this really is the rollout that we took initial stab because the public has said, hey, we need something to look at, we need something to point at. So we rolled these out based on we feel based on the project principles and based on where we think the alignments would fit and be appropriate. But these aren't the be all and end all. This is really a lot of discussion, and this is where we really wanted to start that community discussion to get feedback, to get suggestions, and what did we get right here is one of the questions. But what did we miss? What else do we need to discuss? So I think that answers question one.
Yeah, Nick, thanks. Thanks, Chair. I mean, what Nick is saying, I mean, Denise, your comments are well noted. This is not meant to be something that we're bringing. There is no recommendation here today. There is no vote here today. There is no, this is what we think is only thing that works here today. This is the initial rollout of ideas or routes that connect Target Field Station and Oak Grove Parkway Station that do not use BNSF right away. And they are not just something we just drew on a map. They're also based on review of the project principles. They're based on official public engagement that we've had with the community. And they're meant to be just what they're doing now, is to begin the discussion, begin the community discussion. And Sam's got a lot of slides. Sam's got a lot of slides coming up here in Sophia about how we do that. This is just that. It's to begin, Denise, as Denise identified, the discussions that need to take place about are these the places that we should be looking and are we identifying spots. So I think we are at that time of how we needed to do it. We didn't want to bring a blank map that said, where do you think it should go? At the same time, we are certainly not bringing, hey, here's the only place the LRT can go, up or down, you should vote on it. We're not there at all.
And I guess I thank you, Dan, and thank you, Nick. And this is, I guess, very preliminary, and it is being revealed today for everybody to kind of react to, both in all directions. Ricardo, would you feel comfortable reading your statement now, or would you like to wait till later? It'd be perfectly fine either way.
Thank you. I mean, I think that Denise really centered our concerns. She, she's a member of Blue Line Coalition and also of ACER. But I mean, basically, I want to make sure that we center the fact that as a coalition, we don't have time to really react, quote unquote, to this information, because it's not one person, but it's a set of partners that are talking to communities who are completely disconnected of this situation, because many of them could be tuning in to the current trial of the police that is happening at the moment, and they're not paying attention to this. So for us to have the time to be able to bring this information to our communities is very important. And at the same time, the other thing we want to make sure to express is that the funding opportunities available for us to do this kind of works are very limited, and the process for us to apply for these fundings is very complicated. And I think based on the results of the hiring, you can see a gap in certain communities that could not be a part of the conversation. And then the other thing that is very important to us is the fact that we don't feel that there's a proactive conversation around policies to address displacement and economic development. And we've been pushing for a set of policies and tools since 2013 that we feel it's very important that we're not waiting until the train is built for us to implement these solutions. As a matter of fact, we believe that anti-displacement should be a priority and in the forefront of all of the decision makings in this process of building this train. So lastly, we're very disappointed that last year in August, we found out about the drop-off negotiations via a phone call, like less than 24 hours that when it was happening. And after a year, we haven't really seen any changes in how we're getting information from you. So we see the opportunities of this investment, of this project. We see how this can make a difference in our communities, but we need your help to be at the table and not on the menu. And we need some changes to make sure that this is actually happening, because the statements don't really seem to be working. We just need some action from you all. And I know you're very busy and there's many things going on, but we're looking at you like you're our only source of information here. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ricardo, for sharing that. And we are listening intently. And I think the idea that you've just illuminated, that that there's so many perspectives that we want to make sure we're fully considering and not prejudging anything. And also, this is a great conversation because this alignment may not be on the top of everybody's mind this month or next. It's not just a Chauvin trial; it's the pandemic. I mean, we're challenged in many different ways. So I would have to say we really need to think about how staff and all of us need to be kind of thinking, what are we missing? And your perspective is, helpful to bring that in front of us. Anybody else have a comment at this point?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it's Shep Harris from Golden Valley.
Hey, Shep.
Hi. First of all, thank you to Ricardo and thank you to Denise for their voice and for the voices that they represent. I can't underscore the importance of having them here in this room virtually with us. I happen to be working on a project with Reconnect Rondo, which is to literally restore the damage, historical and trauma that was done by our state many decades ago. So to Ricardo's point, Denise's point about communication and making sure that we aren't creating future disparities, I think is really important. So I just want to say thank you to them for being here and for continuing to speak to that. From a Golden Valley perspective, obviously you can see we're a little bit cut out of this. Are we pleased with it? No. Do we understand? Yes. We understand the situation. It unfortunately underscores the informal, what's called the golden rule. He or she who owns the gold makes the rules, and in this case, it's Burlington Northern. They do not want to play well in the sandbox, and I'm not even sure if they came to the sandbox in the first place. Maybe they did a little bit with the Southwest line, but clearly they did not want to cooperate on this. So it is extremely disappointing, especially after really 10 plus years of time, effort, and money, taxpayer dollars spent out in Golden Valley trying to get so much input. And that's not just on the part of the city, it's on the part of the Met Council, it's on the part of the county. And so I think Denise mentioned, I'm not looking to correct anyone, but the original line being what we've just left. 10 years ago, or even beyond, when I came into this conversation, the original line was, I wouldn't say exactly like this, but it was kind of along the same vein. And but the community support and other logistics got in the way, and so that's why it shifted over to the proposed Burlington Northern route. So in a sense, we're kind of going, in my mind, we're going back in time. And I appreciate the clarification that Highway 100 is not an option. I was a little concerned when I first saw that, and I didn't want to start having to field phone calls from people in Golden Valley, or worried about a new route. But anyway, I just wanted people to know that are we pleased with this? No. Do we understand it? Yes. But on the bright side, and if I may pivot for a moment, Mr. Chair, we just want to make sure we're pleased. We're going to continue to be at the table because we see this as part of a larger regional network. And in fact, we've already started pardon the pun, but laying the tracks, if you will, the groundwork with the Met Council, with County Commissioner Irene Fernando leading the charge, with communities going out west along Highway 55 for proposed bus rapid transit. So of course, we want to be a part of this conversation going forward, even if technically the line is not going to be in Golden Valley, because we want to make sure that the bus rapid transit is seamless and works as part of this network. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. And let me just say, we really got to acknowledge that this is a big change from the original plan, and for Golden Valley especially, and you know, maybe even for some parts of Minneapolis too. Let's be honest about the development and the pre-work done along the Olson Highway. And so we just had to acknowledge that, and I really appreciate your thoughts, and really appreciate Golden Valley and you, Shep, being at the table, continuing to, because this is about a regional system, and as areas of this area, the metro is growing, we got to kind of consider how this connectivity is going to work. So absolutely, I think that how we think about the connecting tissue to this backbone is part of the larger picture that we should be considering. So thank you so much for those words, and I think that goes for a lot of kind of the adjacent communities along the way. You know, I think we should try to maybe spend a little time hearing from Sophia. She's going to talk about how members of the public and the business community are currently going to be engaged, because this is part of this conversation of what are we doing with these lines? You know, how do we interact? And that is, again, the how we do it, not just what we're doing, is so critical. So Sophia.
Thank you, Chair Zeli. And for those that might not know me as well, I'm Sophia Guinness. I manage community involvement at Metro Transit, and just want to acknowledge right away, you know, this is a day that project staff have been focusing on for quite some time. But we, to Ricardo's point, we're fully aware that there is a lot of the world going on around us, both in terms of folks trying to get vaccines, trying to get watching trials, doing a whole bunch of other things that are pulling attention that are important in our world. And so with that, you know, we're kicking off these discussions in terms of finding these solutions, and specifically on the initial route options themselves. We're taking comments through April 30th, and we're, you know, kind of revealing everything, right, and getting out, and we really want reaching everybody and letting them know what these options on the table are and how we came to them. So with that, some just kind of high-level efforts that we have planned. My colleague, Kyle Manuli, has been doing some great work in getting radio and TV ads to reach diverse communities. You know, we'll have something on KMOJ pretty soon, among other efforts. We'll really lean on social media as a way to reach people. We launched today the Blue Line Facebook page. So, you know, for those that just want to, you know, scroll on their phones and get some information and figure out how to engage, that's available. We know video is a way to explain and connect. And throughout the next months, we'll continue to produce content that pulls people in, explains the project, and furthers the conversation. We'll reach out specifically to our community and business stakeholders. And we're really excited, and my colleague Joan Van Halle will address this at the end, but to kick off the community engagement cohort to really dive deeply into our communities with our consultants that Hennepin County was able to hire. Next slide, please. I would be remiss by just not directing people to the Blue Line webpage. I get a lot of questions of where do I find this? Where do I find this? And the Blue Line page has it all for you. So tools to engage, we have our interactive map. There's committee details if you want the presentation from today, that's where it is, and our contact information. So that's where you want to go. Next slide. Part of our philosophy for this stage of the project, so we know, you know, everybody's busy, so we want to give multiple ways for folks to give us feedback in a way that fits what they want to do. So we have an interactive map on the webpage. The view that's up right now kind of shows even some of the former alignment. but you can turn off that layer and you can zoom into the various areas. Before I logged into the meeting today, I saw people already starting to post comments about issues and opportunities that they saw within their communities. We also have a survey that is live. Before I logged in today, I think we already had about 100 responses, and we need to get way more, including really connecting with people out in the world and not just through electronic ways. Sometimes you just have a comment and you don't want to take a survey or think around with our map or whatever. And so we have a way to give a general comment, or they can email me. We have folks that have already sent things like attachments and whatnot with ideas. And so we're taking that feedback in whichever way folks want to give it. And really want to stress that we will come to you. And that includes the members of this committee today. If there's council work sessions you want us to come and be at, or events that you are hosting as well and you'd like project staff to come with you, we will come with you. We want to really start talking about the details and whatnot. Next slide, please. We know there's a lot of questions. And so part of that, we already have some virtual town halls scheduled. We'll go through a presentation fairly similar to today, and then leave a lot of time for folks to ask questions and provide comment. Not everybody can make those times, right? So we'll record the events and put them on YouTube as another way to hear. Next slide. As I think we already kind of heard from some of the discussion this morning, these options lead to almost more questions than we have answers for. And so this is our way to get into that conversation. And so what we're our frame for some of our engagement right now and what we're asking folks for is validating if what we're presenting seems right. Are we missing anything? Is what we put forward resonating as good options to bring forth? What opportunities and issues to specific locations do people see? We know that our community is an expert of in their neighborhoods, and often they see things that will be critical for us to pull through into our engineering as we move forward. And kind of to that question, we know folks, you might have a reaction right away. You might support something right away, but we know in a lot of cases, folks need a lot more information before they can fully make a decision about how we're moving forward. So what are those pieces that will help with that process to finally come to a community supported alignment here from now? We also need kind of on the planning side to evaluate the project in terms of its benefits and impacts. And so we have evaluation goals that'll become a whole matrix of criteria that'll help us really weigh those options to see what comes out. And if you go to the next slide, Sam will go more into our next steps. But one of the pieces that we are asking for feedback on right away from our communities are our project goals. And these elements will help us evaluate both the many options that are in front of us. And since we're bringing the blue line forward and trying to retain as much of the project as possible, these goals initially came from our previous environmental work. So there were things that partners at this table helped us create in the past. And what we did as staff is kind of modernize some of the language. They were initially written about a decade ago, and we can say things a little bit better now in terms of Metro Transit and Hennepin County's priorities. And specifically to note, the two goals at the bottom initially had kind of been combined. And we pulled them out specifically to really speak to some of the priorities that we know we have more now as a community, whether that's efforts to address climate change or specifically to tackle equity and with the goal of reducing regional racial disparities and the importance of that. So kind of just led with that right away. Kind of going to leave this here for the committee. It's something that we can come back with and talk about more as we still have a lot of information to share with you today. So Chair, if there's any questions, otherwise I will turn it over to Sam. All right.
Any questions from anybody? Well,
Well,
thanks,
this is
Sophia.
Council Member Chambliss. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's participating, and especially to the new advisory committee members and the Blue Line Coalition. Everyone's voice is so important as we look at these options. And we've talked about many of the issues regarding equity and reducing racial disparities, including anti-displacement and exploring what's best for economic development opportunities in terms of equity throughout the corridor. One of the things that I recommended was that we have a fuller conversation about the definition of anti-displacement and what that means. And Joan can talk to how we're going to engage the community around those discussions and how we're going to get their feedback and input through community engagement, which is one of the next steps.
Thank you, Councilmember. Why don't we hear from Sam about some of the next steps? You know, if our goal is to have a community-supported alignment by the end of the year, how's that going to work? So, Sam, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. And my name is Sam O'Connell, and I'm the project lead on the Met Council side, but working with a great team. And just wanted to spend a couple moments with you today to talk about where we find ourselves and where we're going. So we have been, as Dan talked in the beginning of our meeting, where we started. And basically August 2020 is when we made this transition to really find a solution for a route that can serve and connect the people that work and live in the corridor. So that started basically in August, and with everybody coming together and listening and hearing and understand that this is big and that we have a lot of and a variety of opinions and thoughts coming together. But what we did hear very quickly is that in order to move forward, our communities needed to see, what is possible, what can we do? So that's where we find ourselves right now, in that we are here right in the middle there, and that is based on the sort of the initial evaluation, again, using the project principles, using what we've heard so far from community members, and really looking at some of this at a conceptual level. This brings us to kind of our next steps, is where, as Sophia talked about, we're going to be out in the community. We're going to hear, did we miss it? Are there other things we should be thinking about moving forward? What does this really look like in terms of impacts? And we're going to continue to do our good work to help us refine those routes that you've seen on the maps. And if we need to add or modify, this is the time for us to have that conversation. And then we're going to bring that back, and we're going to have more conversations here at the Corridor Management Committee and bring some of that analysis forward. Some of the questions that we heard today, what are those impacts to traffic, to right-of-way, and really bring that forward so the discussion continues, not only here at Corridor Management Committee, but at our community and business advisory committees, as well as working within the community members. That really is going to be kind of our late spring, summer work, and bring this back to community members. We do see the development of a couple of reports that would be out in the public for comment, for review, for the discussion, and really bringing that back to where the hope is we can identify that community supported route. That brings us into the next phase of our project and our next work. Jason, if we can move to the next slide. Please, thanks. So today, this afternoon, we spent a lot of time in that conceptual engineering and design. We have a lot more work in that area to go. So pieces that we will be bringing back to our advisory committees for discussion is beginning to identify where we could put stations that serve our communities, that really connect our communities in a way that provides access to the things that we need in our life and places of work and education. We're going to understand a little bit more of what those right-of-way impacts, like I said, and then understand how is that light rail going to actually work in some of these routes that have been identified. Going kind of diagonally down from there is also the community benefits, and a lot of, I think, what we've heard from Denise and Ricardo in bringing that center and forefront. We understand the success of this project really is going to be it's going to be based on the ability of how we can address those issues and how we can move those forward. We hear anti-displacement as we need those tools in creating wealth within communities. So what we'd like to suggest to the group here, as the council, as Hennepin County, as our city partners are beginning to look into their toolbox and identify what we can bring to the table, is provide that opportunity at the April CMC meeting to provide a little bit more space for that conversation. We're just, I think, touching the surface of it now and really need more voices around the table to understand what that is. And I just don't want to leave, there are two other pieces that we will need to have, I think, a discussion here within our spaces. One, as Sophia talked about, project goals, objectives, and criteria. And then also, how do we address some of those previous commitments that were made with the alignment prior to this in Golden Valley and some parts of Minneapolis? How do we still keep that going forward, and how can we address that? Jason, if we can have the next slide, please. So just very much want to underscore is that we hear those communities' concerns, and Denise and Ricardo, that is where we do want to work with you on that as well and bring solutions to the table as well. So it's definitely all agencies on deck, all the hands possible, and working towards that as well. So as we said, we want to bring some of that discussion to our next meeting. Jason, if we can have the next slide, please. So just at a high level overview again, in terms of what we anticipate for activities for the rest of the year, bringing that conceptual engineering forward through our discussions, really begin to dig into some of those project benefits and impacts. We know those are important elements that help understand and allow folks to really embrace the possibilities here, but we need that data, we need that information to move forward. We would love to have that community supported route by the end of the year, and then our continued work in particular with the Federal Transit Administration of identifying what that environmental path looks like for us, and that continued activity to identify again this project moving forward and moving through the federal process. Our hope is that starting beyond 2021, so basically 2022, is that we can begin that environmental analysis. At some point, there is a component of municipal consent that we will discuss and bring to the community here, or then conversation about what that looks like. And then also beyond that, develop our construction engineering plans and design details. So a lot of work this year, more to come, but our commitment is keeping folks engaged around the table and all through the process as well. Jason, if I could have the next slide, please. So with that, Chair, that's our overview, and just want to turn this back to you. I know we have one more update, but just wanted to share again that we're keeping our eye on the destination, but clearly knowing that there's so many other community events and factors going on, we also just really want to score that we're only moving at the speed of trust with our community members too.
Thank you, Sam. That is really a great overview. The complexity and the number of touch points that we're going to be engaged with really in the near term. Any questions for Sam? Any from committee members?
Yes, Chair. This is Mayor Elliott.
Sure, go ahead, Mayor.
All right, good to see you again. Well, I am just wanting to underscore the concerns raised by Ricardo, by Denise, and the comments made by Riva. And I think we have to sort of step back and think a little bit about this project from the standpoint of equity and ask, how well are we doing in that regard? Pete Buttigieg, the new Secretary of Transportation, in December issued a statement saying Black and brown neighborhoods have been disproportionately divided by highway projects and isolated by the lack of adequate transit and transportation resources. And he's committed to prioritizing, quote, righting these wrongs. James Baldwin says, history is not past, It is the present. We carry our history with us. So the question is, what are we doing different? And the fact that we haven't had the conversations around anti-displacement yet, to me, it means that we haven't prioritized it yet. And Chair, I believe in your leadership. I do. And I don't think we need part of a meeting in April to discuss it. I think we probably need a whole meeting to discuss anti-displacement if we're going to prioritize it. We need to understand from the data, who lives along, who lives in the corridor, and who's going to benefit from the different options that have been presented. And we need real information about that. We also need real information about who would be displaced, from these lines. There's information retrospectively that we have about where 94 went, and you can see where people of color are located, for instance, just in Minneapolis, and you can see that it went literally through those neighborhoods, having an adverse effect. But this line stands to bring benefits where it goes. And so, we don't want to divide Black and brown communities with highways and then not allow them to benefit from light rail. So we need some real data, some real information, and then we need some real set of policies that can really center anti-displacement. So thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor, and I really appreciate that coming on what Ricardo, Denise, Riva have described, and Sam. I mean, I think that this is more than just an agenda item. I think this has to be an ongoing kind of conversation. And as you point out, not just a philosophy, but let's get granular with the data. I think that's what is before us. So thank you for bringing that perspective. I think we should just touch quickly with Joan Van Hala, who is going to share with us an update on some of those engagement contracts, because that's one of the means by which we're going to collect some of that good information. So, Joan.
Thank you, Chair Zelli. Can people hear me?
Yes.
All right. Can we go to the next slide? I'll be really brief because I know that there's probably more to be said in this meeting, but I just wanted everybody to know that here at Hennepin County, we're close partners with Metro Transit in implementing this line, and we're in the process of implementing, finalizing 17 contracts with community-based organizations that are trusted community partners with expertise on their own constituents, their cultures, their geographies. So within that, we have a great mix in this team. We have 3 organizations whose primary focus is Area 1. We have 3 organizations who are prioritizing Area 2, and all 17 community and cultural organizations will focus in Area 3. So we're going to work together as a cohort. It'll be collaborative and coordinated across the corridor. I'm included in those 17 are 7 contracts where we're primarily going to be focusing on amplifying communications and learning from our communities. What are the best ways to communicate with you? So as has been stated before, these community-based experts will be on board with us till the end of the year, really helping to get out and hear from everybody in response to the and help with receiving feedback, as Sophia and Sam outlined. And so that's me for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Joan. And I know we're at time. I just want to thank everybody. Next meeting is going to be April 8th at 1:30. I know we have so much more to discuss. One of the issues, I'll just say it, is the voting status of these various represented communities. So, Kathy, that's not lost on me. We have a lot more ahead of us. And just know you don't have to wait a month. You can email me or any staff members, I really want to thank Sam and Dan and everybody, Sophia, Joan,
Mr. Chair.
Nick, Irene. Yes,
Hey,
Irene,
Irene,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I know that we are at time. I just want to express gratitude to all of the staff and everybody who's attended here. Commissioner Lundy and I are working very closely together to ensure that that the community is engaged in ways that are meaningful to them, that that each community along the alignment, right? This isn't this kind of one size fits all thing. We also want to make sure that we're accessible to all of the municipal leaders. You have invested a lot of time, a lot of ordinances, a lot of financial expenditure in the vision of connecting our residents to the healthcare, jobs, educational opportunities that they deserve and have earned. And so I just want to express that we, Commissioner Lundy and I on the Hennepin side want to make sure that we're accessible. And of course, every single month at these meetings, that we are working strongly with our Met Council partners to bring this line into fruition. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Irene. And I will suggest that is actually a wonderful closing. Thank you, everybody, and stay tuned. In a few weeks, we'll gather again with even more information. So stay tuned. Great to see you all. Thank you so much for everybody's really leaning into this engagement work. See you soon. We're adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair.